Hey guys, Marvin D'Souza here. So in this video, we're going to talk about Endpoint DLP. And this has been one of those things where every organization wants to implement, but the current solutions out there either difficult to implement from a administrative perspective or the user experience is really pretty bad. Auditing and reporting also is not where it really needs to be. Creating the policies is not as simple. So, this is where Microsoft really starts to shine because Microsoft has developed this really cool tool, but any tool requires every organization to do some understanding or some investigation around what kind of information they really possess. So this is knowing your own data, right? Understanding what kind of data do you really have in your organization, and then what kind of protections you want to put around it, whether it's HIPAA information, PCI, GDPR, whatever that information is, you need to understand what you have first, and then you need to figure out who needs access to it and what kind of access to need to it. Meaning, like, do they need full read-write access? Do they need printer access? Do they need to be able to access it from BYOD devices? If they access it from a non-compliant or a non-owned, domain registered machine, what kind of rights do they have? This is all that ability we can do in live from the cloud. Endpoint DLP, though, takes it one step further where even documents created locally, any document that may not have had the sensitivity label applied to it as of yet, still has protections because now this sensor is local on your machine. And this is what Microsoft has really done, is to make it really simple from an IT perspective of rolling it out, but also from a customer experience perspective, which we'll get to in the demo. So, like, this is what you really want your users to see when they try to do something, whether sharing a document, printing a document, copying and pasting from a sensitive document. You want to give them enough information so they understand the information is blocked, and then you want them to understand, like, how they can move ahead, who they can contact. And Microsoft, again, does a really great job, but all that information is readily available to the end user. So let's take a look at a demo and go from there. So let's look at the dashboard first. So go to your admin dashboard and then go to the compliance homepage. We want to really jump into data classification. This is where you get that bird's eye view as to what kind of sensitive information is in your organization, who's using it, who are the most active users using sensitive data. What kind of sensitive data do you have in your organization, whether it's PCI information, social security numbers, what is that information? And then, we can actually look at Activity Explorer and Content Explorer, which I'll come back to in a second. But let's look at the actual settings, right? So this is how you would actually create let's look at the policy first. So this is how you'd actually create a DLP policy where you'd say, okay, I want to create some sort of setting where I want to prevent users from doing certain things. So let's edit this policy here. Okay. So give it a second to load. So here you have all your digital estate that this DLP policy will apply to. So you can choose everything, and this is the new thing that we're talking about today is devices. So, which devices? Again, this helps you as an organization, a security team, to roll this out in a crawl, walk, run fashion, right? So you implemented only a few users, test group, and within this subset or within this controlled test group, you can get some feedback as to how this is functioning, whether it's functioning the way you intended it, what's the user experience like. So you don't have to do it for everyone. And once you're satisfied that, like, hey, this is DLP's policy is good, it works, it matches the requirements of the organization, we can actually go ahead and implement it to everyone else. Again, this is where we actually start, and we have templates built in as well. This is a custom policy that I just created. If you use a template, I'll show you as well, everything's already built in for you. So this basically is all the sensitive information types that I chose. Now, if the DLP policy sees any of these kinds of sensitive information types, we're looking for an accuracy between 75 to 100%. So if it's the machine learning algorithm sees that, okay, this looks like a social security number. I'm 75% sure it's a social security number. Is going to apply these policies to that document. And what that really means here is, if they try to upload it to a cloud service or access it from an unallowed browser, it's blocked. If they copy it to a clipboard, we'll allow it, but with an override policy. And then, here are these all the different things. So let's go into an endpoint and see how this functions here. Okay, give me a second. Let me close this out. So I have a social security number, like a document with a social security number in it. So actually, before I do this, let's look at how you would onboard. So I'm sorry about that. Let's just look at the onboarding process. To onboard, you'd have to go to settings and then device onboarding. Now, device onboarding is really where we're not installing an agent, we're just installing the sensor. This sensor is where it actually learns from the cloud this policy. It's a cloud delivered policy, but also helps the operating system understand which documents have sensitive information, which documents don't have sensitive information on it. Now you can see here that I have a number of machines, but one thing I want you to take a look at here is this missing update. If you have an older OS version, you need to be on 20H2, and the reason you need to be on 20H2 is because it has the latest security and feature updates that allow this Endpoint DLP to function correctly. So if you have Microsoft Defender already for endpoints already installed on your machines and you want to implement this solution, you really don't have to do anything further. However, in this scenario, I do not have Microsoft Defender endpoint installed on that machine, so I have to use a local script or one of these other options. So I'm going to use a local script, and all you have to do really here is download a package. When you download the package, you basically go in here and you extract this script, and you run it as an administrator. Once you do that, it takes between 5 to 30 minutes. In my experience, it's taken a long time. I have a test environment, so I don't think I get a lot of precedence when it comes to real functioning tenants. So my tenant really takes a long time. So in the effort of not making you guys wait too long, I already have a machine running. So I have a document in here, social security number. If I choose to hit now copy, and I want to paste this into Notepad, I can hit paste, and what I should see is this this toast up pop up telling me like, hey, we're not going to allow you to do this. Really sorry, because this has sensitive information in there, so you're not allowed to do this. This action is not allowed. Now you can control as to which applications you want to prevent or allow, or you can just say, I just don't want you copying and pasting from trusted documents into any other document. You can dismiss this. This take action option here, this goes back to, if we go back into this policy, here, what you were looking at is give me a second, let's open this up. My mouse is acting weird today. All right, here, so let's look at that. There's conditional rules here. And here you see the copy to clipboard, block with override. So here we're basically saying, hey, if you want to copy it, we'll let you, if you feel like, if this, so here we're giving more trust to the end user, right? This end user experience as a security team, we're saying, hey, listen, we're telling you this is sensitive information, but if you feel like you really need to print this, then go ahead and print this, because we trust you as an organization. Now, there are certain things as an organization that you're going to say, like, yeah, you know what, we trust you for this part, but maybe if you're printing this document, because when you print it, it ends up in the trash, and anyone can go through our trash and have access to this. So for printing purposes, we're just going to block this completely. So here, as you can see, we're not giving them the option to, if you say the take action here, it says this is just blocked. The following actions are blocked by your organization. So it's not even giving them the option where they can actually proceed. Whereas with the copy, you can say, you know what, with the Microsoft copy to clipboard, I'm going to say allow. But with this, it's just completely blocked. These organization rules are blocked. So if I try to print documents, it's just completely blocked. If I try and do, any kind of like copy and paste, so this is what the options I get is dismiss, email, and calls. Right, the call button, I can call my IT department and say, hey, you know, what's going on here? Why am I being blocked? Again, this is about that end user customer experience that we're really trying to make the end user, have a good experience when we implement these security solutions. You can set up a notification, so you can notify different users as to who needs to receive this information when these kinds of activities are taking place. And you can put in customized policy tips and say like, hey, you know what, please take extra precautions when sharing and printing these kinds of information. And this policy tip, again, is to help your end users understand, what needs to happen. And then here you have the option again, like we talked about earlier, is test it out first, or yes, turn it on right away. This is something really important. There's another option here is Endpoint DLP settings. This is where we can actually take it to that next level as well, where you can say, you know what, I don't want any DLP checks to be done, and you add a path. So this could be for some part of your hard drive that you feel users are going to be using, maybe for personal stuff, and you designate it as personal and say, I don't want any DLP searches done there. Here's basically where you say, these are the apps I do not want allowed, and I do not want these applications ever having access to my sensitive data files. And then finally here is browser and domain access, right? So you can say which browsers you do not want, added. And here we have a whole list of different kinds of browsers, which is really cool. So you don't have to go in and figure it out. But if you have the executable name, you can add your own. As you can see, you can just add your own. But if you have a whole list of them, so if there are certain browsers like Tor browsers, etc., that you feel are in your organization, when you look at Intune, if you see those kinds of applications in your organization, you're like, you know what, I need to block these. You can do that definitely really easily. And then finally, domains, right? So if there are certain domains you want to block, like if you don't want to have anyone, you want people to put stuff in Box but not Dropbox, you can block Dropbox. So if someone tries to upload this document to Dropbox, it'll automatically block. So this is where that really comes into shine. But then let's look at another thing, which I really like, is the monitoring or the visibility into what is actually happening. So get that bird's eye view again, and go detailed and say like, hey, what is happening in my organization, and what am I seeing here? As you can see here, let's just make this again. Let's go further up. Let's just do refresh our thing. And what we want to see here is, all these different kinds of things. And if you click on any of these, we see what happened, right? And so you have all these different, which DLP rule was applied, what kind of file it was, the name of the file, what was the enforcement, the date and time when it happened. And you can see all this kinds of information, which user, what device he was using, all the information that you would possibly need to either tweak your security policy, or you could educate or retrain your employees as to why you're blocking things. Content Explorer is another cool thing where you can actually go in and actually look at the different files, and say like you can start isolating things based on social security numbers. You can say like, okay, where do I see most of these things, like in SharePoint? So you open it up and you'll see the different kinds of documents that are in SharePoint that meet the sensitivity type information. And you can also get previews of it. So again, this is Endpoint DLP, and I'll have some other videos with more DLP solutions and sensitive information types. So, but hope you found this helpful, and thanks for watching.